Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today as we continue our lineup prediction series. We're heading out to California in the Bay Area as we take a look at your San Jose Sharks. The Sharks are in a rebuild right now, or sort of a retool rebuild. We don't really know what it is yet. But the San Jose Sharks going into this season, they made a couple moves this summer, and again, they were one of the less active teams in the league, but some of their young guys internally are developing and may find a spot on the roster. So we'll be looking at that today. So looking at your forward group for your San Jose Sharks this season, you got on the top line Evander Kane, Logan Couture, and Kevin LeBanc. At this point, none of these guys seem like they will be traded by the beginning of the regular season, which makes me believe this is going to be your top line, and it's pretty much set in stone at this point. I don't really see much change coming there. Your second line, you got Timo Meier, Tomas Hertl, and John Leonard, and I think this second line is also a pretty good second line. I mean, considering a team that's like rebuilding, it's actually pretty good. There is some questions though about Timo Meier and Tomas Hertl, their futures in San Jose, as they do seem like guys that could be on their way out. Specifically, Tomas Hertl. Now, at this point, conversations of an extension have been fairly quiet, which does lead to some trade chatter and some rumors out there. But as of right now, it seems like they're going to stay put, and he may be a guy that as the season goes along will get traded. So, again, I expect this to be the second line. John Leonard has kind of come up the ranks as a good young winger for the San Jose Sharks, and as a guy that seems like he's going to find his way into the top six. Looking at your bottom six, we see a couple of changes. You got Rudolf Balcers and Ivan Barbanov, which is nothing too crazy. We know that those guys have been talked about in the past. Again, we've seen a little bit of them last year. Barbanov, though, is coming in, and they're expecting some good stuff from him, and I think he could find himself on the third line this year. Nick Benino coming in. He obviously brings that cup experience from his time in Pittsburgh. He's been jumping around the league a little bit. He spent some time in Minnesota, in Nashville. I think this is a good fit for him in San Jose as kind of a mentor for some of the younger players there. And probably one of the better depth signings this offseason if we're going across the board. Looking at the fourth line, Andrew Cagliano comes back to the West Coast after spending a couple years in Dallas in the Midwest, where he was formerly in Anaheim. He now just goes down the road to San Jose, so he'll be back in California. He's a great player. He's a guy that's very reliably in the lineup, and I think this is a great ad for the San Jose Sharks. You got Dylan Gambrell and Nick Merkley rounding out your bottom six. Dylan Gambrell had a not-so-great season last year, and Nick Merkley is one of the players they brought from the New Jersey Devils in a trade this summer. So, again, just a couple of depth guys in there. You also have some guys, though, that could still make this roster. That bottom six is very much up in the air. You look at some of the guys that I have that could make the lineup. You have guys like Matt Nieto, who has been there for a while. Lane Peterson, another guy they traded draft picks for. Noah Gregor, a guy that, again, a lot of people would probably like to see him in that bottom six over a guy like Dylan Gambrell, but I think Gregor will definitely make a name for himself. And you also have Joel Kelman, who, again, another guy we did see at points last season. And again, like most of these guys, I don't know where they feel about Barbanov. Is he a guy that starts the season in San Jose with the Barracuda? That could be an option too, down in the AHL. But again, a lot of these guys are pretty interchangeable at this point. So let me know what you guys think of your bottom six for the Sharks down below, because I think there is a lot of diversity there. Again, the top six seems pretty much set in stone, but the bottom six is definitely a different story. All right, so moving on to the defensive side of things for your San Jose Sharks. You got Mario Ferraro and Brent Burns. A lot of people really like Ferraro. They see him as the next captain there in San Jose, or at least a potential candidate to be a captain. Brings a lot of leadership qualities. He's already a top pairing defenseman. Again, the Sharks don't have the best depth on defense, but definitely different from what we thought of them a few years back. But I really like what we've seen from Mario Ferraro, and obviously Brent Burns, who's a solid defenseman in his own right. Despite the large salary cap hit, he is still a good leader in that room and a steady defenseman. Your second pairing, you got Radim Šimić and Eric Carlson. And obviously, Carlson's had some issues. Probably one of the worst contracts in the league right now, especially with just not playing that well. A lot of injury stuff. So hopefully he gets back on track. I've really liked Radim Šimić. And I think this is a guy that the Sharks are going to need to rely on more this season. So, I think, a few years back you would have said this is probably one of the best right-sided defensive groups in the entire league. And now you look, and that doesn't really seem like the case anymore. It's probably, if anything, their left shot is probably better. There's more potential and a lot younger than the guys on the right side, which you could see. Like I said, you've got Brent Burns, Eric Carlson, and Mark-Edward Vlasic, which, like I said, 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be like, how are they not winning Stanley Cups? Age has caught up with a lot of these guys. Now, looking at that third pairing, you have got Nikolai Nijov and Mark-Edward Vlasic. I do like Nijov, but again, there's a couple of other young defensemen that could jump into that spot on the left side. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody makes an argument for the right side to take away Vlasic's spot. Again, as crazy as that sounds, it could happen here in training camp this year because they do have some really good prospects on the blue line. Speaking of some of those guys, Brenson Pasanachuk. I've heard his name a little bit thrown around in college hockey. He's been playing at the University of Michigan. Again, one of those, infamous players from the Wolverines. So we'll see if he gets a spot on the opening night roster. But another guy that I probably see starting the season with the Barracuda. You look at some other defensemen, you've also got Ryan Merkley and Jacob Middleton. Now, I think out of these three names, I really like Jacob Middleton as a guy that could jump into that third pair. And, it depends on what they really think of Nijov as well. Again, he's a defenseman that I think they see a lot of potential in. But I do see a spot here for Jacob Middleton if they want to add more of a defensively reliable guy, someone to jump on the penalty kill. Jacob Middleton can definitely do that. And I think the Sharks realize with their team that they have right now that depth is, not necessarily their strong suit. They have guys that have potential, but how good are they going to be? And are they going to develop from where they were last year? I think there's a lot of questions there. And that kind of leads into the goaltending situation, as you've got James Reimer, who they got in free agency this summer. He spent a couple seasons in Carolina, in Florida, in the Southeast, and obviously he was in Toronto for a while. So you're getting some experience in between the pipes there. I think a lot of people like James Reimer there. And they also picked up Aidan Hill, a guy that comes over from the Arizona Coyotes. They gave up a couple of depth draft picks for. I think Aidan Hill has the potential to be a starting goaltender. And for some reason, the Coyotes just didn't see that. I mean, they put in Antti Ranta and Darcy Kemper in over him. And I do think those at the time were better goaltenders than Aidan Hill. But you saw glimpses of Aidan Hill and his time in Tucson with the Roadrunners that he can really become a starting goaltender. And the small glimpses that we've seen of him. And that's the other thing. Again, we've seen him in small sample sizes, not consecutive seasons. And that's where you do run the risk of, is he truly a starting goaltender? And we're probably going to find that out here over his contract over the next 2 or 3 years. Which, again, in that situation, I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B option. I think we could see these two goalies split starts 40-40 or very close to that. I think they do like James Reimer. Like I said, he's going to be a good mentor for a guy like Aidan Hill. And kind of groom him as the goaltender. Because we know the situation in San Jose with Arundel and Martin Jones just wasn't working out. They bought out Martin Jones. They took on that heavy cap hit of a buyout. But I think they needed to go in a different direction. And that was really the focal point of Doug Wilson this summer in San Jose, was we needed to fix in between the pipes. Because you look at this team, for the most part, they didn't really make many changes. They brought in Benino and Cagliano, and they didn't really do anything defensively in terms of bringing guys in. And it was really goaltending. That was their big investment this year. And I'm okay with that. I think for the Sharks, where they're at right now, they are showing promising signs of growth. But the problem is, I don't see them as a playoff team. I just, again, the depth on the forward side of things is very... it's not very stable, and the defense entirely, I know I like Ferraro and Šimić, but the big money guys you're paying, guys like Burns, Vlasic, and Carlson, have completely fallen off. So what are we going to see from those guys? So that is it for this video. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the San Jose Sharks? I think there's a lot of questions of who could jump in that third pair on the defense. That's really my biggest question. You know, who's going to be in there? Are we going to see Pasanachuk get some ice time? Are we going to see Merkley, Middleton? Let me know down below. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop in the description down below. If you want to pick up some Goal Line Hockey swag, make sure to check that out. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.